Hi. Hello to the students in Melbourne I believe Melbourne, who are studying me. I'm Chuck Tryon. I'm a assistant professor of film and media studies at Fayetteville State University, and I'm here to answer your questions that you sent me. This is, I guess, kind of a virtual video interview. One of the first questions you asked was my view of your assignment, and at first I was somewhat surprised. I was looking at my blog statistics and found several unexpected references from this strange website in Australia that was saying our target for the semester is Chuck Tryon. So I didn't quite know what that meant. I investigated a little further and found out that you were doing what looks like a very cool project on blogs and wikis and scholars who use those technologies in their classes. So it looks like a lot of fun, and I just wanted to go ahead and add that I do think that using blogs and wikis as teaching tools is a really good idea, a very valuable thing to do. Very often I think that within the mainstream media, certainly here in the US, there are a number of reports about blogs and wikis as being misleading, confusing, problematic, all these kinds of issues. There was a debate here about a university, Middlebury College, actually, that chose to ban Wikipedia. Their history department chose to ban Wikipedia as a source, and I think those kinds of outright bans need to be investigated and looked at more closely. So I think that thinking about wikis and how they operate, how they're produced, and the same with blogs is very valuable, and I think the only way you can really do that is to make one yourself and to work in them yourselves. And so I think it's a great tool. I frequently myself use blogs in the classroom. I've used them in my freshman composition classes off and on for about 4 years, and have also used a modified wiki project in one of my graduate classes. That specific course was designed for master's or graduate students who were planning to go into teaching, and they had certainly heard some of the same accounts that wikis were, specifically Wikipedia, were misinforming students, had factual errors, those kinds of things, and I wanted to give them a sense of again, how wikis are constructed, and to work within the wiki themselves, and also to see it as something they could bring into the classroom and share with their students. I think that the creative potential of wikis gives students a lot of autonomy, independence to kind of produce materials themselves, rather than simply absorbing or interpreting what other people have written and said. My first experience with blogs actually was at Georgia Tech several years ago, back in, I believe, 2003 or 2004. And it was a similar situation to what happened with your project, where I had my students study blogs written by several other prominent US bloggers, and when they checked their statistics, they were mystified to see that suddenly 65 students from Georgia Tech were reading their blogs, and when they went to investigate, they found out that they were being studied. And so many of those bloggers actually wrote about the experience on their blogs, and it created this really interesting feedback loop where all of a sudden everyone was coming to my class's blog and reading what my students had to say. But I think, aside from the bit of stage fright that my students had when they realized they were being read by a wider public, they found it a very productive and rewarding experience. They actually had conversations with people they might not have met otherwise. They got the sense of what it means to have an audience, and I think that's also one of the difficult things in freshman composition and other writing courses, is the idea of audience is somewhat arbitrary and artificial, because basically you're turning in the paper to the instructor, whereas most of the writing that you do in your careers is read by other people, and I think that blogs have a way of making that more concrete, and all of a sudden my students realized that they were being read by this blogger, Rachel Lucas, or Oliver Willis, or whomever, and so they felt obligated to do well on the assignment, to pay attention, to get it right, basically, and I think it was a very valuable thing to do. So I again think it's a really interesting project, and I don't know if I can think of anything else off the top of my head. I had planned to mention something else, but I think I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for your interest.